Sometimes you have to simply watch in awe and wonder how it has happened that he is Prime Minister. This week he informed us no one had told him the party he went to was against the rules, although it took place at a time when he announced every night on television that parties were against the rules. Next he'll explain in detail, saying,
I wasn't told the rules that I read out were rules. I thought they were a bus timetable or lyrics of a song by Bruce Springsteen or instructions for erecting an IKEA CD rack.
And then a series of emails will be discovered warning him that the party was against the rules. So he'll say,
yes, but they were in English, and at the time I only spoke Klingon.
So now he's trying to appeal to his backbench MPs by making new announcements every day, such as scrapping the TV licence. He'll tell us he's going to bring back fox hunting, but in indoor leisure centres so that it's more affordable for the average Red Wall voter. And then he'll say he's going to make it legal to use a Frenchman as an ironing board. And if that doesn't work, he'll promise his supporters that Michael Gove will wank them off in the car park while singing the national anthem. Then he decided to blame whoever he could to save himself. The staff or whoever forgot to tell him about the rules. By Wednesday he'll say
the party in the garden wouldn't have happened if the gardener hadn't put the garden there, and it's the ancient Greeks' fault for inventing wine. And so I've sacked the ancient Greeks, and now let's move on.
Eventually he'll blame the Queen. He'll say that she made him organise a party as she had too much cheese and hummus coming up to its sell-by date, and she hates waste. So now he's set off this war in the Conservative Party. Now, some Conservative MPs have complained that they were being blackmailed by Boris Johnson's supporters. One of them, William Ragg, is actually going to the police to report his own party for intimidation. Tory MP Michael Fabricant answered this by saying, if I reported every time I had been threatened by a whip, the police would have no time left for other crimes. So that makes it all right then, as long as the illegal thing isn't just something you did once, but something that you did all the time. I'll try that next time I get a ticket for driving in a bus lane. I'll write back saying, you can't fine me for that, I do it 20 or 30 times a day. So the Conservative Party is becoming like a scene from Goodfellas. Priti Patel's probably going round them one by one, growling, hey, listen, you didn't see no suitcase of wine from the co-op. There was no wine in the garden. Capiche? And David Davis quoted Oliver Cromwell at his old colleague Johnson saying, in the name of God, go. He'll go further this week and say, in the words of the Duke of Wellington in 1822, fuck off and don't come back, you useless lying twat. Then Rees-Mogg will appear at a meeting of Conservative MPs on a horse and call out, dost thou want a fat lip? Dost thou? Or adibem labrum, as one would refer to such an injury in Latin. And the Speaker will say, order, 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 the honourable gentleman should know it is not permitted for cannon to be fired in the House. The member for Surrey East shall be allowed to finish his question without having to dodge shrapnel from a cannonball. And the next time a Tory MP defects, Nadine Dorries will attack him with a flamethrower in the House of Commons and then say, it would be inappropriate for me to comment on whether or not I did set him on fire until Sue Gray has completed her investigation. And Boris Johnson will say,
there is nothing in the rules to say that setting an MP on fire is against the rules. And although if it does turn out that it was against the rules, I certainly wasn't aware of that. And nobody told me at any time that setting an MP on fire was illegal. And if it does turn out that I was told, it must have been during the time when I turned into a bear and I was hibernating.
So I think he should stay for a few weeks. The country's stuffed, but we deserve some entertainment, don't we, in return? We all wondered how it was taking Sue Gray so long to establish that there'd been a bloody party. We were thinking maybe her report would come out as a tapestry and she was having trouble embroidering a birthday cake. Perhaps it'll be released as an opera, so it'll cost £60 for a ticket to see it, and then we'll see a chorus of tenors singing,
Why do you leave us? Do not forsake us. And then the sopranos will reply, we go to Co-op to fetch more wine, in red chiffon dresses. And then a booming bass will roar, it's a workplace meeting. But all in Italian. Or it's possible the report has become more complicated because it turns out Prince Andrew was at one of the parties. Or maybe she can't finish the report because there was a 20-piece swing band playing in the number 10 bathroom throughout the lockdown and 300 people reenacting the Battle of El Alamein in the kitchen, and she's got to interview all of them. In 1977, I had a party when my parents went away, and they came back to find a lampshade smashed and someone had been sick over the settee, leaving a stain the shape of a map of Cyprus, and brown ale had been sprayed on the ceiling, and someone had drawn a male organ on the cat's fur with a magic marker pen, and my parents went berserk, so they should have been more like Sue, and then they'd still be working out what happened, and I'd be making a statement once a week that it wouldn't be proper to comment on whether I had a party until the report was complete. But now the Met Police have been kind enough to make her job simpler because they insist her investigation should leave out anything about the parties. And an investigation is always easier, I find, if you don't have to include the thing that you are investigating. The plots of detective stories would be so much simpler like this. Sherlock Holmes would investigate the case of the Hound of the Baskervilles with one condition. On no account, Watson, must we mention the Hound or the Baskervilles or anything related to them or the words of and the. To keep the police and the government happy, Sue Gray's report should go, on Tuesday it was quite sunny. The end. And then she can pad it out with 20 pages of dot-to-dot puzzles and a nice picture of some farmyard animals with suggestions for how to colour them in. The police can make their own lives simpler as well by applying the same rules to themselves. When they investigate a robbery, they can leave out everything about the robbery from their investigation and they'll complete their tasks so much more quickly. When the police announced they were investigating the parties, we were told this meant the report might be delayed for several more weeks, which would be convenient. And maybe the government will keep this going. So next time the report's about to appear, it will be announced that the Vatican are investigating the parties to see whether they constituted a mortal sin. So now the report can't be published until there's a pronouncement from the Pope. And just as the Pope's about to give his verdict, they'll say, I'm sorry, Your Holiness, it's now going to be a 20-part series on Netflix, and we don't want any spoilers. So Johnson's only plan now is to get through the day. He's like the person insisting he's not out of a game of Monopoly, even though he's got £20 left and all the other players have a hotel on all the squares. And in any case, the government supporters now say the whole business of parties against the rules is trivia. Why are we bothering with wine and cakes when there's inflation and there might be a war with Russia? You could argue that an argument about a cake is trivial if the government was in trouble because it suggested using 2 eggs in a banana sponge and most people thought there should only be one. You could say the issue of them having parties doesn't matter if, when he was reading out the rules every single day for several months during lockdown, he'd said,
But don't bother sticking with any of this. You can just do whatever you like. I'd invite your mates round and spend all day naked mud wrestling if I was you. Remember, hands, face, cake, bottle, conga.
But they insisted we absolutely had to stay alone while they did the opposite. And if you were cynical, you might suspect that if they lie so blatantly about that, it might be possible that they also lied about trade deals and immigration and hospitals and shoveling billions of pounds worth of PPE contracts to their mates and wallpaper.
In the future, we will wonder how it ever happened. How was this creature ever our Prime Minister? We'll ask it in the same way someone might ponder, why did I ever marry that Satanist? I should have had second thoughts on my birthday, when instead of a cake he put candles on a sacrificed llama. This week, Boris Johnson answered a question about his illegal parties by accusing Keir Starmer of failing to prosecute Jimmy Savile.
Next week he'll say, furthermore, Mr. Speaker, Keir Starmer also failed to prosecute Osama bin Laden, Jack the Ripper, William the Conqueror, the Riddler Spencer from Made in Chelsea, Diego Maradona, and the Daleks. And that'll be an answer to a question about photos of him at a Downing Street party, riding a pig naked with Vladimir Putin. And now it's turned out one of the photos of Johnson holding a beer that's been sent to the police was taken by his own photographer. It's like one of those programmes, Britain's Dumbest Criminals. Look at this clown. He's holding an illegal party in Downing Street and he's brought along his own photographer. Don't forget to smile for the mugshot, Prime Minister. If he burgles a house, he'll take someone with him to make sure he doesn't forget to leave fingerprints all over the doorknob. And his other strategy, when he's been caught at something, is to make an announcement about a new project to try and change the subject. In a few days, he'll tell us he's going to build a bridge to the lost underwater city of Atlantis, and he's changed the route of the HS2 railway so there'll be 4 trains a day there. And he'll add, we have also set up an excellent trade deal with Basilie, Queen of the Mermaids, which wouldn't have been possible if we were still in the European Union. But this time, it isn't working. One by one, his old colleagues are resigning and making statements that go, I cannot believe that the man who always lies has told a lie. So as his support disappears, everybody associated with him will leave. Eventually the wallpaper that he bought for £800 a roll will peel itself off the wall and roll back to the interior designer saying, I can no longer have it on my conscience that I am decorating a wall looked at by this man. And Laura Kuensberg will appear on the news saying, this is a massive blow for the Prime Minister. A source close to Downing Street says that other furnishings may follow. A senior curtain is said to be on the verge of resigning, and 2 of his taps were seen leaving in a taxi this afternoon. But even now, Johnson tries to claim that the staff who resigned didn't resign. It was him who cleared them out. He'll explain this further by saying they've left because they are dead. That's it. They all exploded, and I've had to replace them, so everything is going to plan. And then he quoted The Lion King and said change is good. So he's now referenced The Lion King and Peppa Pig. And I think it'll be Pingu next. To those who say that the time has come for a new leader, I can only refer you to the words of Pingu, who said, and let that be an end to the matter. And he keeps making comments such as the British people are sick of hearing about how we lied and cheated about the parties that we had through the lockdown. They want us to move on to lying and cheating about more important issues such as energy prices and Ukraine instead. And they're making a decent go at it, because energy bills are going to rise by around £2,000 a year for the average family. So they've announced that each household will receive a discount of £200. But even this generous £200 discount is a bit unusual because you have to pay the discounted bit back. So this is a wonderful new way to make things cheaper. All shops should try this. Currys can say, take advantage of our amazing discount off washing machines. They are now only £5, plus another £450 that you have to pay after you've bought it. Otherwise we'll send bailiffs around and swipe all your furniture. Hopefully, the government will make a charming film of a happy family wondering what to do with their discount. The children can squeal, can we go to Disneyland, please, 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 please? And Grandma can ask if they can spend it on putting the heating on as the cold is making her hallucinate. But eventually, the parents will decide to be sensible and spend it on the £200 that they have to pay back. Because we're all in it together. We pay the extra money, and the shareholders of energy companies take the extra money. All of us working together as a team. Now we're in the crazy final days of a filthy empire, so anything can happen. Dominic Raab could flood the House of Commons and fill it with jellyfish while Michael Gove smears himself with Angel Delight and tries to skewer them with a trident while Nadine Dorries writhes on the floor talking in tongues, which Jacob Rees-Mogg translates as, Boris is the truth, the light, praise be upon him.
And in 100 years, children will read of these times and ask how it could have happened. And the finest minds of the day will answer, I really have no idea.